We will now have discussion on alternative solutions in plant protections. We've heard a lot about the risks from pesticides and that we have TFA everywhere in soil and water and rain and human blood, which are terrifying news. We would also have to find out if there are any more obstacles or problems in the use of pesticides. I would like to introduce you. From this side, we have Sybille Kyed from Organic Denmark. She's Head of Agricultural and Food Policy, that's correct, yeah. Frimann Hansen, we heard her before, Head of Department of the Danish Ministry of Environment and Gender. Then we have Rikke Lundsgaard. She is from the Danish Society of Nature, and she's a Senior Agricultural Policy Advisor. Then we have Rune Havgaard from the Danish Beekeeper organization, and he's the head of the Secretariat. I can't say that word. It's Danish. We have Lindhardt. He's the Director of Water and IT and Automation at the water company Novafos, and he's also part of the Inter-Water Alliance, which is an alliance of 9 water companies in Denmark are working together on solving problems with pollution and TFA. And then we have Angeliki Lyssimachou from Greece. We heard her, she's Head of Science and Policy at PAN. Some of you have said yes to 2 minutes to explain your area further. And first, I would really like to hear from you, Rune Havgaard Sørensen, because you're actually the advocate of these non-target organisms. Can you tell us a bit more about this? I understand that there are around 300 species of bees in Denmark alone. What is the problem with the use of pesticides today?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, in general, we actually focus on pollinators in general. And we have not an aim that we are against pesticides in general. We focus on the pesticides that is a problem for the pollinators. During the last 5 years, we have had a project running together with colleagues from 27 EU countries. And we have made analysis from the beehives, and we found out that the bees are in contact with more than 40 different pesticides in Denmark only. That's a very lot. What we don't know about is how it affects the bees. But as Beate just mentioned, somebody thinks that we should only focus on insecticides. But no, it's not only the insecticides that is a problem for the bees. We have fungicides that also remove the good fungi from the beehives that is very important for the bees. And we also have the herbicides that reduce the number of flowers around the fields. So all kind of pesticides is really a problem. So yeah, and I mean, in a conference like this one today, we have heard about IPM. I really need to hear a bigger focus on ecological infrastructure. It's so important also if we want to make a more sustainable farming. So that's something that I really need on a conference today.
Thank you so much, Rune. I think maybe Sybille Kyed from Organic Denmark could tell us a bit more about looking into other solutions than IPM, because you're working with the field of organic farming. Yeah.
Well, actually, I think that the IPM presentation did also present all the solutions that we do apply in organic, except that we do not apply those pesticides. So what I would like to emphasize is that I would like to echo what Rune here has just been saying about the green infrastructure that is really, really important in order to be able to apply at another system than the pesticides, because it is in the green infrastructure that our helpers, they are living. Those organisms that help us to be able to farm a system without the use of pesticides. That was also what Beate, she just presented in her presentation. So, when I was preparing my 2 minutes, I would go through why pesticide in general is a problem and not only PFAS pesticides. But I think the presentations that we have had today, they so clearly demonstrate the problems with pesticides, except that they didn't mention the healthy soils. And we, at EU level, we have just adopted a regulation on healthy soils. And one of the problems when you talk about healthy soils, that is that we apply pesticides. There was an European study taking place, and according to this study, when the soils that they've been looking at, they found pesticide residues in 88% of the fields, and in 46% of those fields, it was at a level that was harmful to the living organisms in the soil. That means the organisms that makes this soil healthy. And that is a problem that has neither been covered today.
Thank you. So you really feel this is an overlooked problem? Yeah. But you are concerned with all pesticides, not only TFA. I think there are other areas where TFA might be the biggest concern, or PFAS in general. And this is in water, Bo Lindhardt. I had a talk with you before, and I think you could maybe explain this a bit further.
Yes, I'm responsible for making drinking water for 300,000 people here north of Copenhagen. And we have been looking for pesticide for the last 25 years, and I find a small amount of pesticide in the groundwater. But in the last 5 years, we have begun to find also TFA, and we find it in a really high concentration. And I think the major problem with the TFA is that there are a number of sources. And I think it's really important that we have this holistic view on the problem of TFA. TFA is from the pesticide, as we have heard today, and I think that's a great step to ban some of them. But we have also all the other chemicals, special the gases from refrigerators. I think that really is important that we've got banning this fourth generation of freon gases, because if we not do anything with this, we will have really serious problems in the next 20 years, and we will not be able to dilute us out of the problem. So I think in that concern, it's really important to have a holistic view on the problem.
Thank you so much, Bo. Angeliki, I don't know if you have any comments, but as you did a lot in your presentation, but you are the expert on this area within...
I mean, I can echo what's been said, and I was very pleased to hear in the previous presentation to highlight that the agricultural model that is based on pesticides, that the pesticides are designed to kill living organisms, and the more we advance in science, the more we see that they're not targeting only target pests, but they also target other species, including us, humans, and they contaminate also water resources and surface water, rich in groundwater, as we've seen now with TFA. So it is an agricultural model that belongs in the past. You know, now we have knowledge, and hopefully with biology and technology and so on, and also talking to each other. You know, we see also farmers speaking to each other is really helpful, but also being supported by member states, so they cannot do this alone. We all need to be, like, the countries must support financially the farmers in this transition, and it's the only way forward. I mean, if we're talking about food security, we're talking about protection of our soil, protection of biodiversity, we're talking about protection of pollination and of clean water. So we are talking about moving away from chemical pesticides.
Thank you, Angeliki. I would like to turn my attention to Rikke, because we're talking about a lot about pollinators and clean water and stuff, but are there other aspects in nature that we have overlooked?
I think that when we look at the whole question of pesticides, I'm not going to answer your question immediately, but when we look at the whole question of pesticides, I think that generally here in Denmark, but also internationally, we exaggerate the importance, the economic importance. We underestimate the problems, and we also don't look enough at the alternatives. So what we're doing with a conference like today, we isolate one problem, which is one particular group of pesticides and one particular problem which is the water. But there's also the other things. There's biodiversity, like both Lisbeth and Beza have been into the insects and insecticides, but also indirect things from, for example, herbicides that kill off the plants and therefore also clean off the wild flora, which is important for things like pollinators. So it's all integral systems, and we forget about that if we look only at one substance or one group of substances. I've also been involved together with Angeliki, for example, in an anti-glyphosate campaign Europe-wise, and again, it's not enough to look at one single substance. And it's also all related to not just pesticides, but it's also related to the whole thing that Rune is into about the ecological corridors, the ecological landscape, the whole landscape elements, and the lack of nature, the lack of corridors, the lack of cohesiveness in nature, and also to do with the whole nitrogen aspect. At the moment in this building, they are talking about nitrogen regulation, and nitrogen is it's even more integral to intensive farming. But when we use nitrogen, we also somehow automatically need more pesticides, or at least fungicides and so on. So, I mean, I'm not going to go into the whole integral system of all of this, but we can't just solve one problem at a time, because we then just isolate it. And so we need a systemic approach, which it's very interesting to hear about the IBM, but like one or two of the people here were saying, we also need to even further that thinking so that we can look into, for example, organic agriculture, which I think basically is the answer to all the questions that we really need solved in terms of farming and the environment. So, I mean, whereas it is interesting to sit here today, it's also important that we involve the whole systemic thinking in looking at how we solve the whole problem of using pesticides in our surroundings.
Thank you so much, Rikke. What I can think is that we do have risk assessments. We do have the EPA. Isn't this concern maybe a bit over-exaggerated? We have regulations. And I would like to ask you, Lea Frimann, what do you think about the balance of the situation for the pesticides that we approve and use today and authorize, and the ones that we decide not to use anymore, like, for example, the TFA substances? Is it a proper balance?
I think that over the years we have banned a lot of pesticides, and it's not. It is just one way what is going on. It's not only looking on pesticide, but as also said that we also have to look into other chemicals. And as was said before, there's other sources for the environment. So we also have to look into other things than pesticides. That in the whole holistic area, and at the development on the pesticide, as I also heard Claus saying from the Commission, that we have to look into more biosolutions on what to do, and maybe some of the substances used in the agricultural farming and how they are doing without pesticides. And then, of course, we need to act on what food we want to have on the stores in Denmark, because if we only use other ways of agriculture, we also have to think on what we actually want to buy in our stores, because there will be some crops which will not be available we have to look into that if that's the.
I mean, we have to accept this as a society if we.
Yeah, the people have to also take the consequences of if they choose that. And I think that we also have to look into other areas where we protect the environment, not only for the pesticides, but also and for the drinking water, where we have areas where we don't have to use pesticides, and maybe some areas where we don't have to use nitrogen, areas where we protect some areas according to protect the groundwater, but also have nature areas, and the policy about that is also one thing we have to look into. So the whole thing is very complex to have a better world in that area. So I don't think we cannot pick up one single thing and say we solve this and then it will be much better all over. We have to look into several areas, and that is actually what is so complex, because before we
So it's a huge and ongoing.
It's ongoing work, and I've been working with this in many years, and I think that we make progress. We are coming on with different things, but I mean, it is very complex, and there's many years work further on.
Thank you so much, Leah. I have a question for you, because you said before that in Denmark, you made the decision about not renewing the authorization for the TFA pesticides, because you said you believe that you are actually obligated to do this. But I have a question, because we still have products in Denmark with other active compounds that we have a suspicion that they also break down to TFA. And I don't know, is it 3 or 5 active compounds that we use in Denmark still? Why have we not looked into taking the authorization away from them?
Actually, there's 5 active substances, and we have asked the Danish EPA has asked the Commission to re-evaluate those substances, because we don't have the data in Denmark. So if you take the regulation on pesticides, you have to have not only a suspicion, you also have some data to say, we want to act on this. Normally, it's the pesticides producers who have the data, and they are obligated to provide the data. And if we should ask the pesticides producer to bring up data on this issue, we have to go to the Commission and ask for a re-evaluation of those substances.
So you say the road is very long to do this?
I mean, that's the way we can do it. We cannot in Denmark just take out suspicion and then act on it. It's not how the regulation is done. But when we have knowledge from research program and other things, then the Danish EPA can act. But before that, we have to rely on the system and ask the Commission to take up the active substances and ask the pesticides producers to bring up the data, because it's their responsibility.
Okay, thank you so much. I have a question for the panel. If we stop using pesticides and reduce it a lot, we heard about the IPM project from Rune, and I heard about other projects from France that were being overwhelmed by weeds, not going very well. Of course, it needs to be tested. But I have a question for you, and I don't know who you can mark if you want to answer it, but what about food security? Can we secure food if we regulate pesticides? We take that first.
We don't have a problem with food security. I mean, we use 75% of our agricultural land to feed animals. So if we reduce that amount a tiny little bit, we'll still have plenty of food. So it's not a question of food security at all. And anybody who claims that as a reason to use pesticides, they are on a wrong track. There can be many other reasons to want to use pesticides, farm economy and so on, but it's nothing to do with food security.
Thank you for that. I saw you were also raising a hand, Rune.
Yeah. Leah mentioned that we also have to think about what kind of products we want to have in our stores.
Yeah.
And yes, we have to think about that, because a lot of the products that we have in our stores, they need to have pollinators if we want to have them there. And the case is not that we suddenly lose all our pollinators. No, that's not the case. But we lose more and more pollinators. And when we do that, it's certainly not possible to. It's certainly not economical to produce these crops anymore. One example is 50 years ago, we had a big production of red clover seeds, but we do nearly not produce any red clover seeds anymore because they need long-thorned bumblebees to be pollinated. And we do have less and less of these bumblebees. So that's just one example that when we lose pollinators, we also lose products.
So we can't spray us out of that problem?
No.
No, okay. I saw you were saying something, but I also want you were talking about an over-exaggeration of the economic importance. Is it in relation to this?
I think I can give the room for other questions because we had two splendid replies.
Okay, thank you. I want to know what do you see as the main obstacles? Where are the areas that we should put in our effort as a society, as a national state, as an EU, both to protect waters and to reduce further risk? Does any of you have, you want to say something, Sybille?
Yes, then I would like to say something, but because I think really the biggest obstacle is that we lack the recognition that we do not need those pesticides, and that the pesticides are really harmful to our environment and all those aspects that we have been through today. So, and before we get this recognition, it's difficult really to act with force to make results. But I would also say that we do really have some tools in the toolbox to react, because we do have the organic farming, which is a certified system where we do have certain plant protection products, but they have a totally different origin. And they are all of a natural origin, and it's really strictly, the access to use them is really strictly regulated, and we do not allow any herbicides, which is really important. And when we talk so much about IPM, I cannot avoid to ask, what is that? Because there's no certified system on IPM, and who is applying more pesticides than necessary? So it's only organic which guarantee what is going, or what is happening. But then I would also make attention to that we do actually have a very strong tool apart from organic, and that is the Common Agricultural Policy. We do have a chance to, instead of paying direct income support for farmers just to produce food, we could decide that those money are paid to farmers according to their performance in respect of securing clean drinking water, biodiversity in the farmland, healthy soils, safe food without pesticide residues. Because if we are going that way, we will gradually get rid of the pesticides.
Thank you so much. So a matter of regulation. Yeah. I see you are raising a hand, Angeliki.
I just want to add a couple of things, because for example, we are phasing out pesticides. It's been more than 1 decade, and the crops yields have not gone down. I mean, we hear all the time, like they're saying, oh, food security, if we ban non-nicotinoids, people are going to go hungry. It's not true. I mean, we have alternatives, we have alternative methods, and we've seen from farmers that they have managed either to phase out completely pesticides or reduce them in very small amounts. We see really success stories, and we don't hear this enough. And also, when you have an advisory system, because we're talking about advisory systems for farmers to help them, but what do they advise them? Do they advise them to use a pesticide, or to use preventive methods based on the strict principles of IPM or agroecology as well, or organic farming? So this is because we it's important that the advice the farmers receive are advice that will help them to move away from pesticides. We didn't hear before, it was about resistant varieties. It might be that you have to change your farming system. You might change your crop, you know, and all of this, you know, we need to sit down together and discuss, like to find these solutions. So the one point I wanted to make is like, we need to work together.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was the same point that Lisbeth Knudsen made about the agencies.
Exactly.
But it seems that silo thinking is a major obstacle, and compartmentalization is a major obstacle for working with this area. So we have talked about regulation and informing farmers. I was wondering what is in the Sustainable Use Directive. What can we use from here? What can we take from here, and where can we do better? Do you have a question, answer to that, maybe, Lea?
The Sustainable Use Directive has to be transformed from the single member states into regulation, and not many member states have national goals on reducing pesticides. Not member states have done all the things which is stated in the SUD, but that was why the Commission tried to have a proposal on a substance use regulation, and unfortunately the Commission failed to have a proposal that could come true because of all the problems with the proposal. We were coming away in the council, but there was a lot of member states which has a lot of pressure from their country. So actually, we moved a step back from the regulation and to the Sustainable Use Directive. And we haven't seen much from the Commission in enforcing this directive into the member states. I don't think that they are actually going to do it in light of the Commission at this moment.
Okay.
I'm expecting that the proposal in December will change a little bit in the Substance Use Directive because of the discussion about drones, because there's a ban of using drones to application of pesticides at this moment, and in some countries it is suggested to use drones for that purpose. I'm not sure that it will be a part of the proposal from the Commission, but it is actually what I have heard from the Commission in that part.
Will the EPA and do you think maybe the Danish presidency use their chance to speak on this matter?
It is too late because it will come in December, and it will be under the next presidency that it will going on, and that is we won't have a chance to have a lead in the discussions. But of course, then we are more free to.
Will they be vocal about it, do you think?
Yeah. When we come to the 1st of January, we will be a member states. We are not presidency. Then, of course, we will take part of the council discussions on the proposal through the normal way, and we will also, of course, go to the parliament in Denmark with what we want to like make pressure on in the proposal and so on. It's normal practice in that area, but we will have to see what the Commission is coming up with in the proposal and how they are. I'm not sure that it will be only in our view. It will be a common proposal with the food sector. It will be taking council discussion in another formation than the environment information. So we will have to see how it's go further in that area, but it will also have something with the food regulation. The Biotech Act is one of the discussion also, and the novel food regulation and so on. So
do you feel it will be?
It will be a common proposal for many different regulations.
Make it stronger, weaker.
It will make it more difficult to have a common position on, because there will be a lot of different things.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. I think we can say now that we need regulation. We need an economic incitement. We need education and maybe a political pressure. We heard from Lundsgaard from Denmark. There was a call for action and a call for solving this in partnership. And this is what we've heard. So organizations and agencies need to find a way to work together more. Rikke, very briefly. Yeah.
I think we also need some courage.
Courage.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, because I mean, for all these years, I mean, I do recognize that, of course, the Danish. Thank you so much.
Like I said, we need you online that we need courage as well.
We need courage as well, because I mean, I do recognize that, of course, in Denmark, we are progressive in regulating pesticides. Absolutely. And there's also a very good reason for that. And that is, as we've heard today, we get our water, our drinking water from our groundwater. So there's very good reason to protect it.
Yes.
And we have for many years been able to identify the particular areas we need to protect more than others in order to be able to have clean water also in the future. The water near the extraction places, what we call BNBO.
BNBO, yeah.
And despite the fact that this is about 10,000 hectares, thereabouts, out of 2.5 million hectares, it has been extremely difficult to be able to take these areas out and say to the farmers, you get compensation for not spraying pesticides on these areas. And in that sense, we can, if we did that, if we took 10,000 hectares out of 2.5 million hectares, we'd be able to protect something like 40% of the Danish drinking water. And we haven't been able to really implement that successfully because there's a lot of mist being poured over the discussion all the time that this is going to be too expensive. And so we need some courage to confront the farming interests.
But what you're talking about is political courage.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Just to make clear, we do have 12 minutes left of the panel. And if there are questions, I would like to open up for them now. We have one here. Fourth row.
Thank you. From SIMS. A lot of concerns, and as Dorte said, we need actions. And what I'm hearing is that you are talking about ecological infrastructure, biological substances, non-chemical solutions, economic incentives. I think everybody can agree about that, but how do we force it to happen? I need answers for that. I think in agriculture we are ready, but tell us what to do.
Thank you so much. That was an important question. And I think you were also talking about economy. Where does it come from? Yeah. I don't know if you have the courage to answer this. Sybille, you raise your hand.
Yes, I would say as a starting point, I don't think it's true to say that the farm systems or the farmers or the farmer associations are ready to change their methods, because they really try to avoid increased or more strict regulation, and they do neither fight for a real CAP reform. Because what could make this happen? That is stronger regulation. That is another way of applying our common agricultural policy. Then it would happen immediately. So actually what we see is that we have farmer associations trying to combat that we will have a change.
Thank you. And Rune?
I have to agree with Sybille. The farmers are not ready, so they have to be more open. And we have been asking to include ecological infrastructure in IPM for years now, and nothing have happened. So I'm looking forward to the next coming projects, also including ecological infrastructure in the IPM. And also we are looking at long-term technologies. It's also very important, but there's also some very easy things. We're still spraying flowering crops during the daytime in full sun when all the insects are very active.
What's the problem with that?
Yeah, when the insects are active in the flowering crops, we are going to spray them. Then they are also affected by the pesticides. So it's just one example on a very little thing that could help a lot.
Thank you. But do you recognize, Sybille and the others, that the farmers actually working with IPM, trying to reduce the use of pesticides, are on the right way? There are obstacles, so they say, but very few farmers are actually working intensely to implement this. So can we recognize that, or? Yeah, Rikke?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really inspiring to hear the example today, but also with all the people who work with regenerative agriculture, who work with conservation agriculture, where they dramatically reduce the use of pesticides. Absolutely, and it's inspiring, and they get inspired to see what happens in the soil, richer soil, more insects, more life, and so on. And so there's certainly individuals out there, and what is very characteristic is that it's all the very able farmers. It's the capable farmers, the very well-educated farmers who are capable of implementing these methods. So absolutely applauding that. But what Paul Henning says, that the farmers are ready. I mean, every day in the farming news, when we discuss pesticides, now the PFAS ban, but also other bans, there's always this incredible persistent sing-song that we can't do without it. And it is really, I mean, it really isn't true. You know that we are trying to talk about how can we use it a little less. It's always no. And then when we document that it's not always a problem, not every year, not in every crop, and not in every area of the country, then this is not being taken seriously. So I don't buy the fact. I mean, it's only regulation really that helps.
Thank you. And Sybille?
The presentation that we had today on the IPM, it was so clear that there was no attention to the green infrastructure. That is where those...
What do you mean? Can you explain a bit more? What is the green infrastructure?
Yeah, that is a non-farmed areas that is part of the farmed area that gives room where the insects, the living organisms that should help us, the pollinators and the roads that helps us against the pests or whatever, where they should live and there they should collect their feed. There was no attention of the importance to have such areas within the farmed land. So that is really lacking. And what I experience when I make my work here on Christiansborg as well, I do really have a problem to protect the initiative that came from the Commission that you should have a minimum 4% of your farmed area reserved to that kind of area to help those helpers to be there. So I think there's this blind spot.
Yeah, and the 4% land fallow was actually part of the proposal in the EU and was
and now you say land fallow because in the initiative from the Commission it was directly in order to provide more give better conditions for biodiversity. It was not a requirement of fallow land. That was something it was changed into by the farm associations, and having fallow land, that is never popular. So that was really wise if we should make this an unpopular requirement. But what I do see is that concerning also the presentation that we had on IPM today, there's some kind of people are impressed by technologies. So it is attractive. Can you present, you could get new opportunities if we develop new technologies. That is always very exciting. So that actually collects some, it's easier to attract the attention from the farmers if you present new technology to them as an opportunity, rather than you should get to know, to understand the ecosystem dynamics. So of course we have groups of farmers that are ready to change what we do today, but I think it goes so slowly.
Thank you. So not enough answers. Are you have anything to say? That has to be very quick. Yeah.
So I think your talk is also like Simpson, because Rune and I went to France 2 years ago, and we visited a research plant with 200 hectares, trying to do all what you were saying. And after 5 years, they have not succeeded yet. And they had a lot of problems. You mentioned it, with the weeds and the insects from the corridors and so on. They didn't come to the fields and took care of the pests. So I think of the concept, sorry to say it, and if you come up with that, I think most farmers will be ready.
Thank you.
I really would like to comment on that.
That has to be very shortly. Yes.
It really requires a lot of knowledge to apply a different system. It's not sufficient to provide some green infrastructure. If the distance to the middle of the field is too far, then those insects, they do not come. So you shouldn't make this mistake, not really to recognize that it requires so much. And it's easier to apply new technology, but I'm not against new technology. I think that is also part of the solution.
And what I can hear also is that maybe new partnerships with could emerge from this. We have a question in the back.
Thank you. From Group Transition Denmark, and this is to the question concerns the updated lists of the pollutants that should be monitored and limited in surface waters, which is the one hand a very great news, but on the other hand, they have very long transition period of time. So member states can be up to 20 years before they have to make this happen. So my question is that, do you in the ministry have plans or discussions going on how to implement early on, so we don't have to wait 20 years? This list includes also the TFA, but also other pesticides and pharmaceuticals and other chemicals as well. So this is this could be the right chemicals to look at to protect future drinking water.
Thank you. Do you think you can give a 30-second answer to that?
I mean, the list on the priority substances, they have to come into force. Of course, it has to be published and so on, but it has to come into force in 27 before the next plan for the Water Framework Directive. So after that, member states should measure it. It is when you should have the goal is more out in the future, but you have to start measuring when they are in force in 27. So this is not, it is not in 20 years you have to measure them. You have to measure them in 27. And then, of course, you have to look into if you are in compliance with those data and if you have to make some new regulation to come into force with those. And for that, you have a transition period for many years. And that is the same as for all chemicals in the Water Framework Directive. So they will come into force in 27 if it is when it's published. I mean, the Parliament has decided it and the Council has agreed upon it, but the Commission has to publish this and so on. So it has to come into force, and then in 27, before the next period for the Water Framework Directive, you have to start measuring them. So you have to find out where they are.
Thank you. We could continue for a long time, I can feel, but unfortunately we are out of time. I would like to ask Bo Lindhardt, you didn't have much to say, if you have a closing remark. Just to wrap it all up. No. Yeah, it's on.
It's important to protect and try to find a priority where we should set in all our effort, because we have so many chemicals we depend on. So we have to make this priority list, so we cannot fight against everything.
Thank you. So what I hear is priority, political pressure, political courage, measurement, economy, and maybe solutions in partnerships. Thank you.